The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, you can't build homes if you run out of the House.
That's right.
Well, in the House of Commons today, Mark Carney came in, said his very well-polished, well-written answers, and then as soon as it became round two, he ran out of the House with so much speed, Usain Bolt would have been impressed. Welcome to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling. I've told everybody that Mark Carney's losing his grip on the Liberal Party and that many of them are beginning to have buyer's remorse when it comes to having anointed him the leader of the Liberal Party. You can see a perfect example of that when yesterday he took all of the jackets that he had given to Stephen Guilbeault and spread it across 3 different ministers, one of whom is a lifetime acquaintance of Justin Trudeau. Like, they know each other outside of politics. They know each other outside of the House of Commons. There's photographs of them together as teenagers and all the rest of that. Is that because he needed to appease a certain segment of the Liberal Party, or did he just have nowhere else to pull from? He had already removed this individual from cabinet. Now he's putting him back in, and he's a staunch ally of Justin Trudeau, or at least on paper nonetheless. However, when he came into the House of Commons today, at time of recording, he was confronted by Pierre Poilievre, and even the Bloc was doing a lot of confrontation. They were talking to him about the way that he has, not come through on any of his promises, that he's, well, I'll let you hear what Pierre Poilievre says to him. What's important, what matters, is that when it came to round two, Mark Carney was still talking to the chair and answering the question from the Bloc minister when he's scooping up all of his stuff off of his desk. He's one step up before he even finishes. He's that rapidly trying to escape the House so that he can get out ahead of Pierre Poilievre asking him a direct question. Now, when the country's in a bad state and everything is falling to pieces and you claim that you're the answer to all of those solutions, vacating the House is not evidence that you believe you have all of the answers. Let's dive in.
We learned today that 8 months after the Prime Minister was elected, promising to build nation-building projects at speeds not seen in generations, he hasn't even begun consulting with First Nations people about his promised pipeline to the Pacific. And now the Assembly of First Nations has condemned his plan because he hasn't done any consulting with them. Today he will address the Assembly. Will he for once say one thing to no matter who the group he's speaking to, be clear that he wants the pipeline to get built and that he'll get the consultations done to make it happen?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the great thing about Hansard is you can consult it and find out what the member opposite said last week. In effect, would we ram through a pipeline? No, never. No, never. We will consult free, prior informed consent with First Nations. We will work with the province of British Columbia. We have conditions in the MOU with Alberta. We know how to work with the provinces. We know how to consult. We know how to respect. Does the member opposite?
You have to actually be consulting with the First Nations for anything of what you just said to be accurate. I mean, it's a great soundbite. I get it. And that's probably a well-polished speechwriter that wrote that answer for you on that stack of paper you have on your desk. However, it doesn't answer the question, will you admit that you want the pipeline or not? Because the Liberal government has refused. I have a session with the Energy Minister, the Environment Minister de Bruzen, refusing to say it as well. So is this engineered failure? Are they trying to play both sides against the middle? Does it really matter to our economic prosperity? What we need is action. And it's been 8 months, and he hasn't even taken the time to consult with those 4 holdouts in those 4 bands that are holding out in British Columbia.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, transcripts are great things, and he just renamed Justin Trudeau's immigration minister to cabinet, the guy who destroyed our immigration system and helped double the housing costs in this country. And that minister has now had something to say about this prime minister's failure to consult on pipelines. He said the consultation should have started yesterday. And it can't be done on a desktop, making reference to his fellow ministers' promise that they would do consultations by Zoom. So why is it that he didn't start 8 months ago consulting First Nations? Is it because he doesn't care what they have to say, or because he just doesn't want the pipeline to get built?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I recognize this situation is very, very complicated for the member opposite. That's right. First off, you have to have a pipeline project. You have to have a private proponent. In order for that to happen, we had to create the conditions precedent. We have now done that because we talked to the provinces. We worked with the provinces. Mr. Speaker, in the Building Canada Act, which was passed before the member opposite returned to this House, we set out the consultation process for nation-building projects.
You talked to the provinces, or did you respond to Danielle Smith drawing a line in the sand that if you don't get to come and see us, there's going to be an issue with this province of Alberta? They're not done. They still have their equalization payment issues to talk to you about. There's all kinds of things coming out of the province of Alberta. And now that you've dangled the MOU, well, I think that if you don't have movement rather quickly.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
So he's broken his promise to get big projects built, and now we learn that he has broken his promise to get houses built. He promised during the election he would double home building to 500,000 units per year. Today, the Parliamentary Budget Officer revealed that his brand new bureaucracy will only build 5,000 homes per year. 99% less than he promised, Mr. Speaker, after Conservatives built well over 200,000 homes at half the cost today. Why won't he listen to us and stop building bureaucracy so that we can start building homes?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the great thing about being a lifelong member of Parliament is you've never built anything and you don't know numbers.
True.
And you don't even read the PBO report, which says it will contribute to projects containing 86,868 units, 130,000 a unit. That is what we're doing, Mr. Speaker.
What? I'll come back to the theater of when they all stood on command because it was written on that paper, and stand. But what was that mumbling of numbers at the end? I mean, you want me to believe that Pierre Poilievre didn't read the numbers? That I don't believe at all. I believe that the PBO report is available to anybody in the public, and I may very well just leave a link to it in the description should I remember to go and get it. However, I am really tired of the Liberal Party trying to claim that because Pierre Poilievre has been a lifetime politician, he's somehow not qualified to be a politician. I will say two things about that. One, the Liberals love to claim that Mark Carney is going to be the expert to fix the economy because he spent a lifetime as an economist, and that hasn't worked out at all. And more importantly, how many ideas has Mark Carney had to take directly from the platform of Pierre Poilievre? How many? What are we up to now? 8 or 9 different things that Pierre Poilievre has said that Mark Carney has literally plagiarized. And before him, there was 2 or 3 that Justin Trudeau did. So say whatever you want, but the man is clearly the one who's telling you what needs to be done, and you are following those moves very, very thoroughly.
Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the only thing that member built when he was the governor of the Bank of England was the housing crisis in that country. And then he built a tax haven in the Caribbean so he wouldn't have to pay the same taxes he imposes on the Canadian people. Our youth need homes, jobs, and hope. This Prime Minister only offers them broken promises and more sacrifices. He even held a photo op in front of a house that was dismantled after he left it. So here we have a Prime Minister whose houses disappear after he announces them and promises disappear after he makes them.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the House in that announcement was sent to Nunavut. Nunavut is one of the territories of this great country. Nunavut is more than just a place where you fly in, make a photo op, don't speak to the Premier of Nunavut. Nunavut is where we are building 700 houses under Build Canada Homes. Houses that are cheaper, houses that are more efficient, houses that work.
First of all, I told everybody that those houses weren't real because they had no electricity and no piping. And I remembered that little photo op by Mark Carney, and he was bragging on how quickly they got them built. He was indicating that they were going to be staying right there. 700 houses sent up to Nunavut. Have you ever tried to ship anything to Nunavut? It takes a little bit of it's not just like put it on the back of a truck, because the roads run out and you gotta, oftentimes it has to be routed through Churchill. Most times it has to be put on a boat sailing out of Montreal, and then it gets up there eventually, as long as you can get it onto that boat before October, because there won't be another boat going again until the spring because everything is frozen solid. Now, if you want to watch Ice Road Truckers, you might be able to see what it looks like to move freight from the southern part of Canada to the northern part of Canada, and how difficult it can be when there is no ice lake to drive across. So I'm not sure what he's talking about with efficiency or any of the things that he just heard him spouting off. Of course, the interesting thing is that the house itself is one thing, and then there's all the material that has to go in it. And from what I understand, 700 houses is just scratching the surface. So you might be moving it to Nunavut, but you passed it off as being an actual step forward. We all remember it. We all watched it. I really believe that Mark Carney needs to do a little bit more than have his polished sound bites before he comes into the House of Commons, because if he can't get his people to write 2 rounds of answers, then I'm not sure that his people are worth the paper that their speeches are written on. Now, here's the real truth of Mark Carney. This is what he doesn't want anybody to see with his polished sound bites that he can put up on TikTok. So the questions move from Pierre Poilievre and then go over to MP Blanchet, who's the leader of the Bloc. He has a couple of questions. As Mark Carney is finishing answering the questions, that's where we are. That's where we're picking up. He's in the middle of finishing answering the question, or the second question from the Bloc. And watch as he's moving towards the books on his table before he's even done talking.
And also we are tightening rules in other areas.
The Honourable...
You can see right there that he's got a big smile on his face because he thinks that he's being clever by escaping the House and running away from Pierre Poilievre. The fact of the matter is that there's nobody in the front bench that can debate Pierre Poilievre, and they all know it. And they know that that's the biggest strength of Pierre Poilievre's character, is that he's able to answer the questions that you throw at him, no matter how many insults, no matter how much jeering. Mark Carney doesn't have that constitution. He's wearing that Order of Canada pin and running away like, well.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, you can't build homes if you run out of the House. That's right. And that's what the Prime Minister is doing right now.
And so we see that Mark Carney, for all of his bluster, and the Liberal Party, for all of their tough talk, he shows up for, 15 minutes, half an hour, if that, and then runs so fast he's in the middle of talking while he's gathering up his things. He's like that school kid that's waiting for the end of the bell so bad that he's got all his stuff packed up. He's like that guy that packs up at 15 minutes and then is waiting right beside the punch clock to be exactly, so he can be first out the door. Everybody knows at work, those kind of guys. And this is not if you want to do that at work, that's your prerogative, but this is not the kind of job where you have that ability. You were there in the House. Pierre Poilievre has said publicly that you are running at him, that you are dodging, that you are trying desperately to avoid talking to Pierre Poilievre on all of the subjects that are going wrong with this country. We haven't even touched on the young men that could be working because of these homes, these ridiculous homes that Mark Carney thinks can be shipped to the top of the planet without warping and twisting and all of the kinds of things that are going to happen. I didn't mention, but that's, of course, something that we have to consider, that as those things are sitting there built, they start to behave in the way wood behaves when it gets exposed to temperatures. All of those things are still a problem as this man runs away from Pierre Poilievre. He runs away from answering to Canada the things that they want to know about how he's going to be doing it faster, doing it better, doing it stronger. All of those things that he said on the campaign trail, none of them seem to be coming to fruition. At the same time, his tenuous grip on the Liberal Party seems to be evaporating at such strength and such speed that I didn't even recognize half the faces that were sitting behind him. He was pulling so far out from the back benches to get them to fill in the seats behind him. I think that we can see Mark Carney is not the man for the job. I believe that he understands that Pierre Poilievre is the much more suited to solving the problems of Canada. That's why he takes so many ideas from the Conservative Party. That's why they become so desperate when the Conservative Party throws up a good answer to try and catch up to the thinking of the Conservative Party. In the end, it doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you live on as you listen to my voice. Just remember that poverty is never going to be the answer to your life. And Mark Carney is trying to engineer poverty on a scale heretofore unseen in Canada. That's just my opinion. You can leave me your opinion down in the comments. I'm going to wrap here. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time.